Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to answer your political questions by asking my spirit guides. I have a special team of spirit guides that basically handle these political questions. I've talked about this in previous videos. If you're new here, welcome aboard. There's life preservers and crash helmets in the corner. Also, please be advised that the thoughts that are said here are by my spirit guides and not by me. So please, if you have any problems or questions, call 1-800-SPIRIT-GUIDES. Press 1 for complaints. Thank you to Pamela Shen for that really awesome phone tree that I now have for my spirit guides, which I will also post in the comments so that you can dial in the exact number for the spirit guide that you want to talk to, get your questions asked or your complaints heard. Okay. And I really mean that. This is basically channeled. This is not Susan telling you these messages because frankly Susan disagrees with a lot of this, and I don't prepare for this. I basically read your comments, I copy them into a Word document so they're organized, and I read them as I'm copying them, but I don't prepare or ask anything in advance. So you'll see sort of how the spirit guide sausage is made in the back room. You'll see me talk to them, back up, go forward, clarify, whatever. So we're going to start off here with Barb P. Thank you for your question. And Barb wants to know, as we all do, will the Democrats gain a lot in the House and Senate this November so we don't have to rely on cinema and mansion? So I will say that I'm really, it turns out, a teacher at heart. So I would tell you guys, when you're talking to your spirit guides using your oracle cards, your tarot cards, or praying, or whatever it is that you do, be very specific. So you would want to word that. We might want to word that a little differently, like how many seats will the Democrat gain, or will the Democrat gain seats? Because when you say a lot, it's like asking Google for a lot of something. Your answer may not be correct because you asked, will they ever? Well, yes. If you ever asked, will the Democrats ever get their act together? You know what I mean? That's a question I often ask. And they say, sure, it might be 2040, right? But so let's go back. And I also want to say, I have 2 dogs in the room with me. One is a new rescue 9-month-old puppy. God bless my soul. If you're from the South, you know what that means. If you see me suddenly hit the mute button, you can imagine what happens, because last night when I was doing a video for my members, she literally started eating the bedspread comforter in front of me. So just be warned. Okay, Barb P. So sorry for that diatribe. Barb P, we are going to gain seats. We are going to gain seats in the Senate this November. And that's a very good question, because we do need to gain a seat because we need to offset cinema and mansion. And I do feel that we're going to gain at least 1 seat. The energy is not written yet on a lot of these questions, and what that means is everyone still has free will. If right now I think the energy is very favorable for us to gain 1 seat in the Senate, perhaps maybe we all kick it into gear and or some people get charged with federal crimes. Cross your fingers. And we win 2 more seats, right? I'm going to go with 1 right now because the energy is really hard, but I do see federal charges coming, and I do see a shakeup. I do see at least 1 senator or 2 senators vacating their seats, under pressure. So, but we may not win those because those might be in very red districts, right? So, but I do see 1 seat. And that will certainly help us. I mean, that's a good thing. But I really think we might get away with 2, which would be phenomenal. Really phenomenal. And so I do see overall, you guys, I do see us picking up seats in the House and seats in the Senate. I do see Biden getting a bit of a mandate with Congress to get some stuff done. Now, that's in a that's in an environment of some squabbling and fighting. Because look, if you're going to arrest or charge or indict some of these people, their base is going to go wild. I mean, their base is going to be very upset about that, right? I mean, these people have been fed untruths. They've been hypnotized. They've been brainwashed. They're not going to believe any judge, even if it's a Republican judge. They're beyond saving, a lot of them. So you're going to see a lot of tension, okay? But yes, I do see that happening. Thank you, Barb, for your question. Lisa H. says, did 45 show any of the stolen documents to those who went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring after he left office? So what Lisa's asking is, did 45 show any of the stolen documents to people who visited him in Florida to sort of, get them on his side and for power, basically? And this is a really good question, because when I copied and transferred it into my Word document to begin to do this video, I laughed to myself and I said, yes. And then my guides, censured me, as they sometimes do, because again, there's Susan and Susan's opinions, and then the guides and their knowledge. Of course, we all want to bet on the guides and not on Susan, right? I mean, that's why I step aside and let them do this work. So here's what they showed me, and I was surprised, and that's why I want to tell you this. So I thought, yeah, of course he did. No, you know what the guides showed me? So interesting. And I'm telling you, this, I see this clear as day, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. That man didn't have, okay, so when I see documents, he didn't have the raciest, most secret documents. He did not have those documents. He wasn't allowed to have those documents. He was not allowed. I'm telling you, it's like when you're at a restaurant, a family style restaurant, and you give your kid the little placemat coloring thing, and they sit and they color because it keeps them occupied while you can eat your dinner. This is what they did. They gave him some documents and said, oh, these are top secret. And then he, would go get them out of his little drawer whenever somebody would go by and say, look at this, look at this. I'm going to stick it to Biden. They're not top secret documents. I'm telling you, they might be documents that say, it might be literally, they're telling me the lunch schedule for the Secret Service because he doesn't read. And I don't know if he can read or not. There have been accusations about that, but I'm telling you, he does not read. Now, this is pretty documented, but I'm telling you, my guides are showing me a document that he has not read, that he's just been told is important, and he shows that document. Now, who has the Secret Service documents, the secret, top secret documents, and what are they doing with them? Well, that would be Kushner. That would be Jared Kushner, and he has those documents, and we all know what he's doing with them. He's going to the bank with them. And this is a good time to say this is for entertainment purposes only as well. So, but while I was talking, I don't know if you saw that glitch in my face there. They showed me briefly the boxes that were stacked up that said top secret. Okay? Remember, there were boxes that were found, I think, in Mar-a-Lago, that were, some of the things in there were top secret. Be assured that Jared or his assistant went through those boxes with a fine-tooth comb and took out everything that was of high dollar value. So yes, there were things in those boxes that were top secret, but they weren't worth money to the right people, so they stayed in those boxes because he really doesn't give a flip about America or our secrets or our integrity or any of that, obviously. But I thought it was very funny how the guides showed me them just basically handing anything to Trump with words on it, and Trump is showing it to people. Look, this is a big, well-kept secret. I do not think mentally he's well, and I don't mean that as in a mental illness. I mean that in a delusional or dementia sort of way, okay? And again, this is my alleged, I'm not saying that I have any reason to know this other than I'm psychic. So, I won't never forget him grasping, and he has it with both hands like a kid would, like, wow. Okay, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Lisa, for your question. I really appreciate that. Leo29 says, Leo wrote a very long message that I'm going to abridge here. So there's a steel plant in Mariupol. Okay, this is Ukraine. There's a steel plant in Ukraine that is in this town called Mariupol, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong because I'm not Ukrainian. And it's been under siege by the Russians for a long time. Now, this steel plant, they produce steel there, has tunnels under it. It has layers of tunnels. It was fortified for this very purpose. It's fortified as a bomb shelter. We think that there's 500 soldiers, some wounded, women and children in this steel plant. Of course, we won't know exactly, but we think that there's quite a lot of people there. Now, this steel plant has been cut off from other Ukrainian forces. It's surrounded by Russians, and it's being pummeled with bombs, and they're not allowed to get food or medicine or water in. Now, I'm going to tell you some things that's going to maybe cause you to call 1-800-SPIRIT GUIDES complaint department number 1. And that is that this is war, people. This is a war, and Zelensky has to make decisions for the greater of Ukraine. Okay? For the greater of Ukraine, it was decided that Mariupol would be a sacrificial lamb. Now, that is very hard for me to even say. That hurts my heart to say that. But that is the case. As long as they can keep the Russians focused on Mariupol, they can rout the Russians from the rest of Ukraine. And that is what they're doing right now. They're pushing Russians outside of the Ukrainian borders, around Kyiv and different places. The Russians are exhausting their ammunition, their munitions, their bombs, their people on Mariupol. Now, it is at a critical juncture. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a critical place right now because they need water. They need food. Other than that, I think they're safe. But I will say that I can't guarantee this, you all, but this is the picture I see. I see these people coming out, blinking, rubbing their eyes into daylight out of the tombs, the tunnels of that steel plant. I see people. I do not see them all dying. I do not see that. Also, I'm going to say this because I doubt that Putin watches this channel, although if he does, I just want to say, Susan has a special message for you, and it's not from the spirit guides, and it's rot in hell. Okay, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, back to the guides. I'm just got to tell you guys, there are special forces in Ukraine. There are special forces from Western countries in Ukraine, and there are special operations happening in Mariupol right now. I do know that some things are being delivered in and out of that steel plant by cover of darkness. Not enough, okay? The problem is it's not enough. There's not enough food. There's not enough water. There's not enough ammunition being delivered back and forth. But there is some outside connection. I I'm going to tell you, like Ukraine, spirit guides are saying, don't count these people out. Don't count them out. They may have enough food to last another week, and that might be all they need. Okay. You also have to understand, guys, there's a lot of Russian propaganda that sadly is being broadcast through our own news channels. Chuck Todd comes to mind. There, and also through other news channels throughout Europe. Okay. Things are not what they seem. Also, Zelensky is not going. They're not going to say we can allow. They're going to send distress signals out when there's not distress, because what's going to happen is if Russia thinks they're close to just getting a surrender out of Mariupol, then they're going to throw all the rest of their grenades and their munitions and their ammunition and bombs at that place. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a sacrificial lamb, but maybe perhaps not. Perhaps this is strategy. Okay? Now, it's a war. People are going to die unnecessarily, unneedlessly. Absolutely. But I don't think Mariupol is what we think it is. It's terrible. I don't think it's going to be an absolute total tragedy. I might be wrong. The guides might be wrong. This is what they're telling me. I don't know. For sure, pray. Pray is good. Send light. Send light to Zelensky. Send light to those people in that steel plant in Mariupol. Send light to them. Send love to them. Absolutely. Absolutely. That does help. Ask for their suffering to be abated. Sometimes I just say, please allow the suffering of all those in the world that are suffering to stop for 10 minutes. Because 10 minutes without suffering is really heaven for those people. Perhaps we can't have suffering stop forever, but I can ask for an abatement of 10 minutes or 1 hour. And that is beautiful. Okay? So, absolutely. Please keep sending your light. Dorian MacDonald, thank you for your question, says, can we narrow down a month in 2022 when Merrick Garland is going to be spilling the beans to the American public? I see things all the time that make my eyes pop out that is not reaching the news. There is so much going on that you guys don't even know about. And I mean, I see this in the news, but I follow people that are investigative journalists. I follow, people that are doing the work, but it never makes it to maybe CNN or MSNBC. So there's these things already happening. It's already begun. It's already begun. Now, in regards to Merrick Garland, I'm going to get quiet and really check in, because when I have my own emotions about this, it's harder for me to hear the spirit guides. So I'm going to try to really connect into this. I mean, they're saying soon. That term, the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know what the hell that means. I mean, what does that mean, really? Truly? Where did that come from? Anyway, what I see is indictments, and then no one's kind of paying attention, and then one indictment causes everybody to wake up and go, wait, what? What's going on? And then that's when you look back and see it's been happening, but we've been too busy, or perhaps the news isn't covering it. So soon, can you give me a time? I think we might see our first. Now, is this from Merrick Garland? Or is this from Jan 6? Is this from Merrick Garland? I need specifically Merrick Garland. May, June. Something is going down in May, and I don't know what that is. It could be an indictment. It could be it could be an indictment. An unsealing. So they unseal the charges. So one of the things that Merrick Garland is doing is there's no leaks. There's no leaks here. When have you ever seen an investigation without any leaks? It's watertight. They've often said it's like a submarine. It's watertight. So I do see in May, I feel like an unsealing, an unveiling, something opening. So that's in May, but that's not a big deal. Again, that's one of those things that you may not hear about or pay attention to, but it's important. And then I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of hullabaloo around September. Right, but this is going to be happening through the summer. You're going to see unsealed documents in the summer. But the thing is that because we don't have all the dots to connect the way he does, we just see it looks random to us. Here's a random, here's a random, here's a random. And it doesn't make, so what to us, right? So these things will start to be unsealed, but they won't make sense. We won't be able to connect all the dots until September, October, when a lot of this is unveiled. Now, I'm going to tell you that, again, 1-800-COMPLAINT department, I'm just telling you, right now what he's doing is he is looking at each case by case. And even though these people broke the law, there's not enough there for him to risk going to court. So, what did the guide say? There's 100 archers lined up with arrows. Everybody releases their arrow. 95 miss. 95 miss. 5 land, 3 indict Trump. Okay? It's the same thing with the whole group of these people. A lot of charges are just not going to be placed against them because we have a whole lot of federal judges that are appointed by Republicans that aren't even qualified to be there by the bar. The bar actually rates these judges and they're unqualified by the actual bar. But there they are. And they're just there to do the bidding of the Republicans. So Merrick Garland has to pick his best racehorses to put in this race. And he is not going to make a mistake. He's going to make sure that these racehorses have every opportunity to win. So if he has any doubt in his mind, he's gonna throw the case out. That's gonna make us really mad. Okay, it really is, because you're right. Justice is not being done here, and we all want to believe in justice. And for that part of this equation, we need to get busy and put those Democrats in the House and the Senate and get these laws tightened up. Get Citizens United out. Get these laws tightened up again. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You're not going to believe this, but Sherlock Holmes has a question for me. You never know. Okay, Sherlock Holmes asks, what charges, if any, might we see in the U.S. Judicial... changes. What changes, if any, might we see in the U.S. judicial system in the next 2 years? I did not plan that. That is the next question. 2 years. That's good. Very specific question. 2 years. Not enough. The guides are saying not enough. We will have added some people to the House and the Senate. We will have... Biden has appointed a lot of federal judges, which is good. He's gotten them through Congress, which is good. They're talking about the Supreme Court. We have to change the Supreme Court. We have to put more guardrails in. Right now, the Supreme Court is not really, they govern themselves. And we need to change that. They're telling me we have to start there. They're telling me we have to start at the Supreme Court. And we will, because Biden will get another chance to put another judge on the bench. We've answered this before, but I think Kavanaugh is a good possibility to have to move out of the court. And I think Amy Coney Barrett might go out for a different reason. I think Thomas will go out for a different reason. Both of those might go out for health issues, and I think Kavanaugh might go out. Again, they show me him being run out. You know, you see the villagers with the sticks. He's kind of chased out. So we might get an opportunity to put 2 judges or 3 judges in the Supreme Court. And that's the beginning. And then they will, we will be able to change some of those rules. We may be able to put new rules in for the Supreme Court. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for your question. Martha Spillman asked, do I see or do they see NATO, the UN, or the USA putting boots on the ground at any point in Ukraine? Yes, dear. I see the UN. In my last video where I took your questions, I saw the blue helmets. I didn't know what they were, but the commenters let me know that they are UN peacekeepers. So I do see those blue helmets. Are they Switzerland? Switzerland is usually neutral. I'm seeing Switzerland doing something. Now I know Switzerland has come out and is not neutral in this particular situation, which gives you an idea of how important and how ridiculous this war is, because Switzerland is always neutral. So yes, I do see them, and they're welcome. And they're welcomed by Zelensky because it formalizes and normalizes peacekeeping within Ukraine. Okay, so as long as the UN is there, I don't think Russia will do anything, because if they do, I think NATO will get involved. There's several like red lines here, right, where NATO will get involved. Also, she asked, given the drought in the Southwest, do I see widespread use of desalination plants in the U.S.? Yes, I do. I don't know what they're showing me. I don't know what a desalination plant looks like, but I do see something getting water out of the air. That's not desalination, is it? Isn't it desalination like getting salt, using salt water? I feel like they're getting water out of the air. How do they do that? I don't know what this is. They're showing me. But yes, there's going to be some new technology because this drought is going to... They're showing me Texas, Oklahoma, including all the way up to Nebraska, going to California, Arizona, the usual places, but let's add Texas, Oklahoma, like Kansas, Nebraska. I mean, a pretty good, I don't know if those are normally drought places. I'm just showing you what they're showing me. But yes, we are going to have some new technology coming on board. This new technology, sort of explosion of new technology, will be taking place in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, new technology for everything. Anything you can imagine, from healthcare to the environment to, just making our life useful things. I don't know what that is. Okay, thank you for your question. Auntie D, thank you for your question, says, does the CDC have any authority to set community mask guidelines if our judicial system can simply decide to shoot the guidelines down? Well, yeah, the CDC does have authority. Well, not authority. I mean, they have the authority to make the mask guidelines, but they don't obviously have the authority to override the states. Okay? It's, I guess now it's a suggestion. And we know that judge, or you may not know, who knows, that there's a judge who struck down the mask mandate. And this judge is another one of those people that they were just talking about, who is a Republican judge who is not qualified for her bench seat by the bar. The bar said she is not qualified. She's just there to be a Republican rubber stamp yes to everything they want. So she did her job, right? She's probably going to get a check in the mail. And then also, Auntie D asked about, do I see the COVID numbers increasing significantly in the 4 to 8 weeks as a result of the judge's ruling, which is that we don't have to wear a mask? They're telling me the any increase in the amount of cases. How does that make sense? Okay, how did they say this? Okay, the increase, it has to do with summer and people not being together. So they're saying that, this is what they're saying. I don't think it makes any sense. Okay, the increase in any number of cases because of the mask being lifted, the mandate being lifted, will be offset by the fact that it's summer and kids are getting out of school and people are going to be outside more. I mean, I think that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. So it's not going to be as bad as if we were going into fall, winter. And then I'll just say this about COVID and about this, all this stuff. And I need to be careful what I say on this video. What I see is this. I just do not see any kind of huge spike in cases this summer. I don't see it. I do see, a moderate rise, but I don't see a spike. Number one. Number two, as we get into the fall, I do see cases starting to pick up this fall. But look, Americans have spoken, not Americans, you guys are going to scream at me, but in Texas, it seems like nobody's been wearing a mask for never. They never wore masks. I mean, nothing has changed for me. I go to the grocery store, nobody's wearing a mask. But it seems that the majority of Americans have decided that they're not going to wear a mask, and you can't make them. Okay? So, Biden backed down when all those truckers were in Canada and then they started to come down here. It was just easier for Biden to not die on that hill, right? To not make that his pivotal. He needed to get other things done, okay? I know that upsets some of you, and I'm sorry. I get it. I'm on your side, remember. But here's what the guides want to say. And it's not perfect. None of this is perfect. Look, if you're looking for perfection, you're on the wrong planet. You need to, hitch a hike to a different perfection planet. This is not it. This is duality. This is trying to balance and never coming into balance. Never are we going to be in balance. We're always going to be slightly out of balance. The problem is right now we're out of balance too far. But so here's what I see. By this fall, we're going to have a new regimen of taking care of this virus. We're going to get sick. If we do, we get sick. We take this pill that's already out. We maybe even go to a drugstore and we get tested. It's positive. They give us the pill. We take the pill. We isolate for 2 days. We have minimal symptoms. We're back at work on Monday. This is how we're going to have to deal with it. Okay? So, in that way, in the way that corporate, people think this is great. This is great. My workers can still work, so they're out of work for 2 days, fine. 3 days, fine, no problem. The hospitals are going to be great. We don't have people in the hospital, crowding us up so we can't do anything else. Now, of course, you're still going to potentially be exposed to a long haul, situation where you have the long haul symptoms, and that's true. And that it's not perfect. I'm not saying this is perfect. I'm saying this is what I see, and I'm telling you we're just going to have to make the best of it. We're just going to have to make the best of it. Right now, Americans don't care about each other, okay? And that's that. That's where we are. There's no politeness. We see it when we drive. Road rage. This is who we are right now, okay? We are changing, and we are going to change, and we are going to evolve and ascend out of that. We are. But right now, not so much. I really hope that was helpful. I don't know. Darren, thank you for your question, though. Darren says, when do I finally see Putin getting thrown out? After that happens, what will happen with the next president? I've heard a temporary one first and then elected one full term. This is the likely scenario. Well, let me start from the beginning. Putin is very well protected. They have been trying to get rid of him, to be honest. And then what happened was there were several attempts to get rid of him, and that didn't work. And they showed their hand, which was not a good idea. And that's why some of these people are disappearing. But so now what they've done, and I want to say wow, okay. It's the generals. It's the military. It's the military. So Putin never liked the military. He never liked the generals. He had his own inner circle. You know, there's the FSB, which is like our FBI, CIA, intelligence, whatever. But then he had his own inner circle, which was different. Now, he's more aligned with the FSB because he was a spy. I mean, he was a KGB guy. But he's never been aligned with the military. He's never liked the military. The military has always been a threat to him in his mind. And so he has kept them at bay. He has cut them off from his inner circle, okay? The military clearly has taken a beating here. We've got 8 generals, I think. 8. We're up to 8 generals that have been killed in Ukraine. 8. We lost 1 general in all the time we were in Afghanistan. So they don't like him. And I thought that the oligarchs would get him, but the oligarchs are like, they would rather live. That's what they just said. They would rather live. So I think it's going to be the generals. And so what's happening is they are waiting for their opportunity. It seems like I see a narrow. I don't even know how to describe what I'm seeing, but it looks like a V. It looks like this. And this little point up here is open. So if you were to imagine, it looks sort of like this, with the opening bigger at the back and then a narrow opening in the front. That narrow opening is what they have to get through. And they're waiting for that opening to happen. It is going to happen. This guy is not going to be in charge of Russia. He's a lot like, Putin is a lot like McConnell in some ways, in the sense that it's very hard to read McConnell, because the way you read energy is, if somebody was standing on a golf course in the middle of a lightning storm, 99.9% of the people would literally get on the ground and crawl away. But that, just 0.001% is actually McConnell. He'll stand there and lightning be damned. And that's Putin. So when you go to read those two, you're often wrong, because they do not do what the energy suggests that they will do. But I do know that Spirit, here's another one you're not going to like. Spirit is happy with Putin to be in office. Not happy. That's the wrong word, right? Spirit is not removing Putin themselves, because the longer he's in office, the longer and the more completely we learn our lesson. Now, not only we, but Russians, everybody learns their lesson. It's like the longer he's in office, the more we really feel the effects of this lesson. And the longer, and think about it, the longer he's in office now, you have people like China, or not really China, but more like Germany coming to terms with some of their leaders are pro-Russia, and they're going to start getting rid of those people. Okay? So the longer Putin is in office, the more horrible the lesson, but also the longer it gives us to really see who's really on whose side here. You can't hide. If it goes on for, 6 months, there's no way you're going to hide. Your efforts are going to be clear for everybody to see. So Spirit's not going to get rid of him. which is bad news in my opinion. But he will be removed. It might not be for 6 months. It might not be, because there's more lessons. This is the part I hate. There's more lessons, you guys. So one of the scenarios is that, and I've talked about this for a month, for the very first video, I think Spirit has said this. There's a real possibility, and it is what it is. It's a real possibility that Russia already has control of Crimea. They already have control over some of these cities in the south and east of Russia, and they've had control of them for a long time. This is not new. They've already been in control of them through these Russian separatists. It could be that Russia asked that part of Ukraine is sort of, I want to use the word deeded as in given the deed to something to Russia. I know all your heads just popped off your shoulders, and I have some Ukrainians that watch, and I'm terribly sorry. I can only tell you what they're telling me. Now, if that happens, it could be a way out of this war, in the sense that Russia could say, or Putin could say, okay, got what I wanted, now I'm out. Now the UN peacekeepers with the blue helmets come in to Ukraine and rebuild. Now, if that happens, Putin is going to stay in power because he got what he wanted. Now, I will tell you that if this happens, if Ukraine has to give up any portion of its land, whether it was already ceded before or not, I see all of those original borders of Ukraine from when they became their own separate country going back to normal. I see them getting all that country back, all those parts back. They will be made whole again in 3 years. Okay, so this is not permanent. It's not a permanent thing. And I think that maybe, now when I've read on this before, I didn't think Zelensky would go for this. But now I think Zelensky may go for this, because I think that Zelensky is a smart guy, and he also has a little bit of an ability to see into the future. And he knows that if Ukraine goes into NATO and Ukraine goes into the UN, the EU, it's a short matter of time before Russia really falls, and Russia will fall. And then he'll get those parts back. So he knows he's not giving up on them, okay? Does any of that make any sense? So this, as far as like Putin going out, I do see a general taking over. I've talked about this in the past. I do see this person taking over who is not at all a good leader, does not, a very almost Stalinistic in that also way that you're going to be eating potatoes if you're lucky. There's going to be food and aid perhaps from China or Cuba even, but it won't. It'll be dire. It'll be a dire situation, which is what cripples them even more and makes them ripe to become a democracy. So does that make sense to you guys? This new person that takes over, I don't see them being, even if they're a general, I don't see them coming after anybody. Because to be honest with you, they don't have the munitions. They don't have the men. They don't have the soldiers. They're conscripting anybody up to the age of 62 right now. They don't have it, folks. This is a bully. This is a paper tiger. He's beat Ukraine to a pulp for sure, but he's not going to invade the United States. He's not going to invade any other country he doesn't have it. And truly, because they're Google now, when Google has their satellite, Google Earth, right? They blur out military installations. They took the blur off of Russia's military installations in Russia. Go look. They took the blur off, and when you look at the planes in the airports for the Air Force, 3/4 of the planes are in pieces. Their wing is off. There's parts around the planes. They don't have it. They're bluffing us. Now, given that, I don't have any confidence that their nuclear weapons are going to work. I don't have any confidence. So this is really a lot of bluffing, and I think we're finding that out. I think Ukraine is helping us find that out, that they don't have what they say they do. They're not as powerful as they say they are. Okay, everybody, this went on for a very long time, so I'm breaking this video into 2 pieces. Okay, so there's part 1 and part 2. There's some really good stuff in part 2, so I hope you'll come back and watch that. Also, I would like to say that I'm going to do a completely separate video that will answer your questions that you had that were spiritual. So I had asked in the question, political and or non-personal spiritual. I'm going to do another video about the spiritual questions. This is part 1. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take really good care of yourselves. The energy is a little bit demanding right now. So we have to be the ones to take care of ourselves. Fill your cup up before you pour out to other people. And check out part 2 and take care of yourselves. We'll talk soon. For entertainment purposes only.